weeks now, I have been a prisoner of the sea on this deserted island, and my solitude has become too heavy to bear. I feel I'm about to lose my sanity, in spite of my efforts, in spite of the exhausting work I have imposed on myself, even in spite of my prayers. I was right to continue watching. A sail on the horizon. I think I'm going crazy. I've got to keep calm. This is no time to lose my head. My God, is it possible? I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to speak to other men. Where is that ship? There is no ship. There never was one. A mirage. My solitude is causing me to have hallucinations. Is this the beginning of madness? I'd rather destroy myself than have that happen. I must fight against my despair, against the temptation to die. I mustn't let myself become an animal. I'm already starting to lose all notion of time. I make a tremendous effort to recall the exact number of days which have gone by since my arrival here. Luckily, I've kept track of the number of days I required to accomplish each one of my tasks. All I have to do is to tally the total on a post which is going to serve me as a calendar. One notch for a day, a cross for Sundays. How many posts will I have marked by the time I'm found? I didn't find any clothes on the Esmeralda. Mine are all worn out. I have a stock of sailcloth. It will be a bit rough, but an Englishman hasn't the right to walk around nude, even if no one is looking. I would never have believed it was so difficult to cut and put together some bits of cloth. At last, after 1,000 tries, here I am decently dressed. I'm more than a little proud. I do the round of the island in my new suit to show all the inhabitants the elegance of their lord and master. It must have been started by the small fire which I keep burning near the cave. Still and all, I'd taken every precaution. And the gunpowder. The cave is full of gunpowder. Everything will blow up. Exactly what I thought. A spark from this fire set everything aflame. I never imagined that this sailcloth and this green wood were so combustible. But the violent sun of this country dries everything. All my furniture, which took such pains to make, everything has to be done over again. I was almost happy today. I had made myself a handsome suit. I thought I was a king. It was too good to be true. I have weeks of work ahead now. Fortunately, my little companions are safe and sound. That's the main thing. After all, I have no right to complain. When one owns a palace, one has to face the perils of fire. Oh, well, Robinson, roll up your sleeves and go to work again. To cheer myself up, all I have to do is think of the situation I was in when I was reduced to slavery and earmarked for death. I found myself close to a stagnant pond, yet I would have drunk with great delight. But they had carried their cruelty so far as to tie me out of reach of the water. Suddenly, a means of escape occurred to me. It was infallible, like all escape plans. I didn't have the strength to pull out the stake I was tied to, but a camel would have no trouble doing it for me. All I had to do was take hold of the camel's halter that Almighty God had mercifully placed at the right distance, then tie the halter to my stake. All that remained to do was frighten the camel by throwing stones at it. He would tug at the halter with all his might and pull the stake out like a carrot. I carried out my escape plan beautifully. But I was betrayed by the poor quality of the local materials. My master, the emir, looked upon me as a worthless wretch. I couldn't argue it, since my father shared the same opinion. But the emir exchanged me for a camel, which my father would never have done. These people had only one way to express themselves: the whip. My new master soon realized he had struck a bad bargain and traded me for a donkey. At each transaction, my value dropped. The next day, I was only worth 3 goats. No, 1 goat. To spare my pride, they settled on 2 goats. My value then dropped to 2 baskets of oranges. Finally, I was traded for 2 baskets of fish. Not even fresh at that. The fishmonger, named Kazir, entrusted my education to young Ali, the first kind soul I'd met in a long while. During these moments, my dreary days at law school seemed like some kind of paradise lost. To think I'd fled all that, only to come here and scrape scales off slimy fish crawling with flies. Kazir didn't trust anyone. He was always armed to the teeth, which never failed to startle me. He couldn't have become very rich, since he attracted more flies than customers. Judging from his waist, he had the appetite of a sultan. But I had little time for such reflections. The whip, always the whip. From the day I came to his defense, Ali became my faithful and devoted friend. With his help, I was able to hide a store of provisions on Kazir's boat. I must escape by sea. It was my only chance. My supplies were still insufficient, and I decided not to risk escaping for several weeks. And then the opportunity presented itself, sooner than I expected. He was off balance. A backward stroke of the oar. I was free. I knew that Kazir was an excellent swimmer. I was sure he'd reach the shore without difficulty. And yet, there he was, drowning before my very eyes. If I saved him, I'd be a slave again. If I let him drown, my conduct would be unworthy of a civilized man. I hadn't the heart to let him die. I saved his life, at the same time sacrificing my freedom. So that's why he was always on, and why he almost drowned. The weight of the gold dragged him under. Moral, you can get rich in any business, even selling rotten fish. Burning with anger, I threw him back into the sea. To escape possible pursuers, I headed for the open sea and rowed without stopping until I was exhausted. I hoped to cross the sea lanes of the great European ships that sailed off the African coast. Suddenly, the coastline disappeared. I found myself on the high seas. I took stock of my meager supplies. They were meager indeed. I had been forced to escape too soon. I could only pray that Providence would let me meet a ship as rapidly as possible. Otherwise, I would surely die of hunger, and above all, thirst. I carefully gathered up Kazir's gold. It couldn't be of any use to me in the middle of the ocean, but I was spurred on less by greed than by hope. The hope of one day having a chance to spend it. Wanting to fish isn't enough. You have to know how. I suddenly regretted that I'd never learned to do anything with my hands. Every hour that passed decreased my chances of surviving. Sometimes a gust of wind gave me a fresh hope. But after securing the mast, I didn't have the strength to set the sail. Ships evidently didn't sail through these waters. I couldn't row any longer. My only chance was to hoist the sail, hoping the wind would carry me to the commercial sea lanes. I finally succeeded after great effort. From then on, the slightest movement was painful. My My face was burning from the salt in the sun. I lost consciousness. The wind came up. And the miracle happened. A Portuguese vessel sighted me.
Go call the captain.
The Portuguese officer who found me told me later that he had almost left me there, fearing I was ridden with the plague.
You'll tell me about it later. In the meantime, get some rest. And don't worry. In a little while, you'll be back on your feet. Yes. Once in a while, we have to use the whip. Unfortunately. The man was caught stealing your gold. A tidy little sum. It was quite a temptation for a poor sailor.
The Portuguese captain had my gold returned to me and accepted only my gratitude as his reward. We had arrived in Brazil. I said goodbye to the officers and the crew. There was nothing to prevent me from living happily in Brazil. I was sure that my misfortunes had ended. Brazil. I had good luck there right away. Almost immediately after my arrival in Bahia, with Kazir's gold, I bought a parcel of virgin forest, which I cleared rapidly. I began by planting tobacco, then corn, and these crops succeeded admirably. I wasn't in any large way responsible for it. Everything grows in this blessed land. I bought a banana plantation which had the same success. Oh, slavery had changed me a lot. The lazy bones who had fled from England had become a glutton for work. Fortune was smiling on me. I dressed elegantly. When the ships arrived from Europe, I bought the most expensive cloth, the finest stockings, the rarest laces. But I didn't throw my money around. I kept a strict accounting. My inbred English business sense guided me in all my transactions. I thought I was done with my life of adventure. I intended to spend 10 years in Brazil, then go back to England, my fortune made. Meanwhile, I was living happily in a house which I had had constructed according to my own plans.
Well, for a first harvest, you're very fortunate, Signor Robinson.
I suppose I should be thankful. But I often ask myself what I'm doing here. I could be doing just as well in England, close to my family. What was the point of traveling 2,000 miles, braving the greatest dangers, only to end up here in this jungle, stranded among total strangers?
You are unjust, Signor Robinson, when you speak of total strangers. You should know that here, all of us are your friends. As for the jungle, don't say harsh things about it. It has been our fortune. Admit that land is more expensive in England. Labor is far more costly as well.
Yes, and here it is insufficient.
It is true. Good slaves are hard to get, and their prices are going up each day. Slavery is a serious problem in our region. It is a matter that worries us a great deal.
I've thought about the problem, too, a great deal. Yes, I was uneasy, bothered. I thought over the question for several months.
During your voyages, no doubt.
Yes, that's right. Would you believe that on the coast of Guinea, you can get a perfectly healthy human being, a strong adult male worker, in exchange for only 2 goats?
2 goats for just 1 slave. That is expensive.
Oh, you think so, do you?
And besides, that kind of exchange isn't very practical. What with loading the goats and feeding them, it's not possible.
Evidently not. I suppose a handful of colored beads would be better.
The best way is to go directly to the slave auctions.
But isn't that what all the importers do?
Yes, but they act only on behalf of the state, which then levies enormous taxes on the merchandise. It is absolutely immoral.
You have to put up with it. I don't see any other solution.
I'm positive there has to be one.
That man's words had just awakened in me all the foolish notions which I had thought were sleeping. I suppose the call of the sea in me is stronger than anything. And even today, when I should be cured by the hardships I've known, I can't resist the desire to explore this sea which surrounds me. I must have a boat. My raft is too heavy. If I risk the open sea in that barn, the slightest current will carry me off. I must make myself a navigable craft, a canoe, so that I can go explore the nearby waters without the risk of being carried too far from my island and not being able to return. Maybe there are other islands nearby. Maybe some men, civilized human beings. I've got to go look. How to hollow out a tree trunk. I don't give myself a moment's rest. Chopping with the axe gives me blisters. Oh, if my father could see my hands now, he would be most surprised. My hands bled, but the work progressed. This canoe, once launched, where will it take me? To what shores? Or to what other deserted island? Who knows?